The Legend, a legacy novella, written by Sheritta Bitikofer, narrated by J. Lindenwood.
The Legend. Chapter 1. The forest north of Y was anything but quiet that night. He hadn't known a moment of pure silence since his childhood years. From where he squatted under a sheltering oak, he could hear them all carry on around him as if nothing were wrong, as if an abomination like him never existed in their world. The laughter of the townspeople in Y was a haunting reminder of everything he could never have. It was the first day of August, marking the beginning of the harvest. He could imagine them all feasting on the fruits of their labors, and celebrating in the cool of August. If he breathed in deeply enough, he could smell the freshly baked loaves of bread from the dinner tables of the families in Y and the surrounding farmlands. There was a time when he would have partaken in such festivities, but that time had long passed, and now his tongue may never know the rich enjoyment that a slice of bread and butter could bring to a tired and miserable creature. Some distance away, separate from the celebration, he could hear a lone traveler snoring in his bed-sack. He could hear the soft popping of the embers from a dying campfire, and the savory smells of a beefy stew. His stomach rumbled, reminding him that he still had not eaten that evening. As wonderful as the traveler's stew smelled, it wasn't what he needed. For years he had wandered in the proverbial darkness, lost in his own confusion of what life could afford for a lonely and cursed man like himself. All he knew was that life had little meaning anymore. The child who sat at the table with his family had a future. The traveler had a plan, somewhere to go and maybe someone's arms to run to. But the man who crouched under the swaying leaves of the oak tree had nothing. The sound he had been waiting for finally graced his ears. It was the frantic rustling of an animal in the deep brush of the forest. He sniffed, breathing in its fear. He took off, weaving through the tall elms and oaks whose branches shaded him from the moonlight. When he found the fawn caught in a hunter's trap, he ducked into the bushes so as not to alert his presence too soon. It tugged and twisted, but the noose-like knot around its ankle would not loosen for anything, not even its desperate attempts at escape. The grass and leaves around it had been scattered in its hasty efforts to regain its freedom. Watching the animal, he wondered where its mother could be. Had she abandoned it? Or was the fawn alone in the wilderness? This was the first time he had come to find a deer so young ensnared this way. With the aid of its parent, it might have avoided such a fate. If he had any mercy within him, he would have turned away and looked for a meal elsewhere. He could have even cut it loose so it could live another terrible day in a world that considered it to be nothing more than a beast to be killed and eaten. He was not so merciful, and the darkness within him needed to be fed. Slowly, the demon took over his body. His nails grew into claws, and his teeth elongated into carnivorous fangs that glinted in the moonlight. Eyes that were once a deep brown brightened into a golden hue that put the crown jewels to shame. His heartbeat pounded in his ears as his blood quickened at the sight of his intended meal. Nothing else mattered but this kill. He approached the deer from behind, his bare feet silent in the lush grass. The fawn wasn't even aware of him until it was too late. He grappled the head of the fawn and snapped its neck with a sharp twist. He heard the bones crack, and the fawn's thin and gangly legs went still. He breathed a prayer of thanks to the Lord above for the meal, an old habit that should have died with his humanity long ago. Then he set to work on the trap, and sliced through the cord with a flick of his sharp claw. Lifting the carcass over his shoulder with abnormal ease, he sped deep into the woods to begin his feast. The demon within him rejoiced at the meal, but the human was disgusted. For every lamb, every cow, every deer, or small woodland critter that had met an ill fate at his hands, he died a little more inside. It was a wonder there was anything left of his sanity. Even as he swallowed the raw, blood-riddled flesh of the fawn, he
Sample complete. Ready to continue?